Welcome to your Daily Detroit for Tuesday, July 30th, 2019. I'm Jairus Days. On today's show, Brian Quinn from the TruTV show Impractical Jokers will join me on the line. He's one of four that make up the comedy troupe, the Tenderloins. They're coming to town August 9th. A schedule change puts the Rocket Mortgage Classic and Grand Prix on the same weekend. A new incentive district is coming to the Livernois-McNichols area in Detroit to spur commercial development. Royal Oak is looking for a city manager, and some local breweries win medals at the 2019 U.S. Open Beer Championship. So cheers, and let's get to your Daily Detroit right after this. The Daily Detroit podcast is brought to you in part by Lawrence Tech. Traditional four-year students love Lawrence Technological University's thriving campus life, but LTU has always met non-traditional students' needs too. Lawrence Tech offers over 100 degree and certificate programs that can get adult students started or back on track, and most classes are conveniently offered evenings at LTU's beautiful Southfield campus or online. So you can balance your social, family, and work life even while you power up your career. Find out more at ltu.edu, and we'll have a link in the show notes. Brian, there's something I've definitely got to share with you. The first thing you need to know is that I know a person who's turning 103 years old that watches you every single day. A 103-year-old Polish grandma.
I mean, that's incredible. Like, is she okay?
Oh,
I feel bad for her. That's
You know what's amazing? She doesn't stay at a home or anything. She lives on her own with a walker, and then when she has pizza when she's watching your show, she does it with a shot of whiskey and a High Life.
I love that so much. I can't. I'm driving to set now. The first thing I'm going to do when I get there is tell the guys that story. That's incredible. Tell her I said hello. That's amazing.
Yeah, and it was funny because she's actually the one who introduced me to your show because she's sitting there and just giggling and cackling. And I'm like, what is she watching? It's got to be funny to enter. I mean, this woman's seen everything. This woman was around when Model Ts hit the road.
That's incredible. Wow, she's very lucky. Please tell her I said hello. That's amazing. It's like an honor.
Well, and I know that what's funny about talking to you is that we've talked to a lot of different folks here at Daily Detroit. And when I mentioned that we might be doing something with the Tenderloins, also known as the Impractical Jokers, I'll tell you, that's like the number one reaction for people because I think you're the show that everybody watches, but they don't really admit that they watch.
That sounds good. We used to hear that when it comes to our show, there's only two people who have seen it and like it and people who haven't seen it. So I would be fine if more people are seeing it and not admitting to it as long as they watch it. That's fine with me. I have no problem with that.
So how did you get into all of this? I mean, you've kind of got a path that I think a lot of people go, that's probably the best job in the world between being on TV, doing your live shows. How did you all get together? I understand you guys met in high school?
Yeah, we met in 1990. We were friends freshman year of high school. We were like babies. And we just, grew close and always liked performing and creating with each other. And we just never stopped. And eventually we went so long that somebody was like, man, I guess we better give it. Not even like we weren't even pitching TV shows. We were just making these goofy videos for the web and stuff like that and just going about our regular jobs and our regular lives. And then we were like, one day somebody said, hey, man, why don't you pitch a show? And this is what we came up with, and it actually sold very quickly. It was pretty easy.
Well, that's a theme that I hear a lot with creatives and especially comedians. It's really about doing the work. We had, I don't know if you're familiar with Kevin Allison, who does the Risk podcast, but we had him on a while ago, and that was a theme that I think I've seen multiple times where you're just doing the work and just entertaining people, and I think that seems to be the key of making something go.
Yeah, I think that's it. Like when people ask me, like, what was the key? What's the secret? I always say just outlast. Just keep going, keep your head down, do it because you love it. And it doesn't come from a place of like, hey, man, we want to be on TV. It just comes from a place of, I love these guys. We love doing this, so let's do it. And if people respond, they respond. And if they don't, I'm still going to do it. And we just never stop. And so many people that we met, at each stage of it, you meet people who are doing the same thing that you were doing, and like the ones that didn't cross over in some way are the ones that just stopped.
So you've got the TV show, and then you've got this live show coming up that you're going to be coming to DTE to perform. What's the difference between the live show and the TV show? What can people expect?
Well, we're going to do the TV show relies on people not knowing we're doing the show and not knowing who we are. So we can't do that to a crowd of thousands of people who know who we are and are there for us. So we just try and get the spirit of the show on stage, which is like what people respond to, which is like kind of just hanging out. And we just do like our version of stand-up. It's all four of us on stage at the same time. We show videos that we couldn't show on the TV show. You know, we tell stories. We make fun of each other. It's just more like the spirit of the show on the stage rather than the actual show.
Yeah, I encourage people, if they want to get a taste, there's a couple different clips online that are just really funny, including your love of cats.
I love cats, man.
So how many do you have now?
They're my pals.
Do you have 3, 13, or 131?
I'm still holding at 3. What happened is Benjamin Cat, who is my oldest guy, who's been on the show a lot, torturing Sal, he's getting a little older. He's like 16 now. So I don't want to introduce any new cats, you know, and stress him out. So we're holding at 3.
Fair enough. I also know that this isn't your first time to Metro Detroit. Have you had a chance to see a few places when you've come through town, or do you have anything specifically about Detroit that you have enjoyed?
Yeah, you know what? I can't remember. It's so funny because we just started talking about, and it was so good, and I can't remember what it was. I can't remember where it was. I have no information. And the four of us are like, oh, what was that place? So we're trying to piece it together now in anticipation of getting to town. But so that's my big mystery puzzle right now with Detroit.
If you give me a couple clues, maybe I can help you.
I don't have it. That's what I'm saying. I don't even have any clues.
Oh, okay.
I just remember there was a painted mural on the wall. We're just going to have to get our tour manager to look up what hotel we stayed in last time. And see what's around there. That's what I came to, which I haven't been able to do yet. But the same thing happened to me in Manchester, England. We got into town 2 years later, and I was like, oh, my God, that amazing place. And I eventually tracked it down. So
the bottom line is that Brian usually doesn't know exactly where he is most of the time.
Most of the time. Unless I'm on Staten Island, I don't know what's going on.
That's amazing. When I told people that I was going to talk to Q from the Impractical Jokers, everyone wanted to know, what was your favorite punishment to give and what was your favorite punishment to take?
Well, I like the one that I like that I gave the other guys is when I brought them to the fire academy and made them sort of run through what, you know, firemen go through when they're training, and just knowing that it would be funny just because those guys don't know what they're doing when it comes to that. So, and it worked. So I really enjoyed that one. Plus I got to spend a day in the fire academy, which I love. So that was it for me. I don't really like any of the punishments that were done to me. So I have nothing to say there. I hate them all. None of them are fun.
I hear that you have a podcast as well.
Yeah, I've been doing this podcast for longer than I've been doing the TV show. We've got over 400 episodes. It's called Tell 'em Steve Dave. And I do it with Walt Flanagan and Brian Johnson, who were on that show Comic Book Man on AMC. Yeah, we started the podcast before either of us had TV shows. So it was like an interesting tracking of our careers. I'm actually going down tonight and doing 2 episodes.
What are some of the things that you've learned doing the podcast that are a little bit different than doing the other things?
Well, the podcast, we don't edit. So it just sit down and you just talk and you be yourself. And sometimes you look like an ass, you know, sometimes you look great. And it's just fun to do because just hanging out with my friends. But the podcast is another example of, you know, when we started doing it, when we started doing Tell 'em Steve Dave, people are like, what's a podcast? Like, they didn't know. Like, now everybody knows what a podcast is and everybody has a podcast. Back then, I had to explain to people what a podcast was. And like I said, I think we're up to 420 episodes, and it's like, it's just do it. Just get there every week or as close as you can to every week and do it. It's like everything, man, just consistency, you know?
You're pretty busy already, but I see you just released a new comic book named Metro. What got you into comic books, man?
Well, comic books are my thing. I've been a weekly comic reader since I was a child, and I love it. I mean, it's been my thing my whole life, comic books, so I just eventually got to the point where I would come up with these stories and these ideas, and then I just always wanted to do one and finally came together and did it.
So outside of then, of course, your own book, what were some of your favorites, or what are some of your favorites?
Well, the stories that I'll always push people to are like Kingdom Come and of course, Dark Knight Returns, Killing Joke. So, you know, I try and give people the goalposts and stuff. I like the majors to read. Really, week in, week out, I'm reading everything. Probably say every week I read about 20 books a week.
Wow, that's impressive. That's cool, man.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I'm in it, man. I love it. I go crazy for it. I don't like it when things happen that I don't know about. So I'll even like stick with series that I don't even like anymore too much because I'm like, oh man, I just want to know what's going on.
Well, Brian, thank you so much for spending some time on Daily Detroit. I really appreciate you.
Oh no, it was real nice talking to you. Thank you for your time.
You can catch Brian Quinn, also known as Q, and his 3 high school friends at the DTE Energy Music Theatre Friday, August 9th. We'll have a link for you to grab tickets in the show notes. The Rocket Mortgage Classic in Detroit is being moved earlier in the year. It's part of making room in the PGA Tour schedule for golfers going to the Olympics in Tokyo. The event at the Detroit Golf Club, at least for 2020, will be the same weekend as the Grand Prix on Belle Isle. So in short, May 28th through 31st will be a busy time in town. Oh, and in case you forgot, that's also just 2 weeks before the new public dates for the North American International Auto Show. It's going to be a busy early summer. Staying in that part of town, really just a mile or so away from the golf club, the Livernois-McNichols area of Detroit, and think near the University District, Bagley, and Fitzgerald communities, is getting the city's first broad-scale commercial incentive district in the city's neighborhoods. It's called an Oprah, and it doesn't mean you find keys to a new car under your seat or that you have to share your feelings on television. The acronym is for Obsolete Property Rehabilitation Act District. To be clear, this is not the city writing a check. We're going to get nerdy here for a second, so apologies, but try to follow along. The incentive aims to reduce operating expenses by reducing the tax load, which then increases cash flow to support debt payments for renovation costs. The incentive district, approved last week by Detroit City Council, will support the $9.7 million redevelopment of 4 properties, and they're all slated to begin construction by spring of 2020. Going forward, any of the 103 properties in the 22-acre district could participate. Up in Royal Oak, they're looking for both a city manager and maybe an interim city manager. The Royal Oak Tribune reports that recently retired city manager Don Johnson has rejected a $14,000 a month offer to do the job for several months without benefits. For context, he used to be paid about $16,000 a month if you include benefits costs. Johnson had asked for $18,000 a month to step in. Royal Oak's police chief and staff may cover the duties in the meantime, but it was made clear that they wouldn't be, quote, hitting on all cylinders, end quote. City officials told the Tribune that it may take up to 5 months to fill the city manager position, and even an interim manager would take a month to get up to speed. 3 Detroit area breweries took home awards from the U.S. Open Beer Championships. 2 from South Lyon, Third Monk and Witch's Hat, took home category golds. Livonia's American Harvest Brewpub at Schoolcraft College also took home a couple nods. Let's break it down. Third Monk won a gold medal in the bitter category for their Lion Pride brew. I always appreciate when people have love for their hometown. Witch's Hat won a gold medal for their It Wasn't Me Stout. That's in the foreign stout category. I have no word at this time if early 2000s rapper Shaggy likes the beer. Finally, the Schoolcraft College winners are from their brewing department. They won bronze in the Imperial Porter category thanks to their Sinful Imperial Porter. And their gold winner was in the Belgian-style strong specialty ale category for their Grand Cru beer. Cheers to all. All right, that'll do it for today's show. Here's my piece of unsolicited advice for today. Think about being cool like Seth. Seth joined us as a member at patreon.com/dailydetroit. So I just wanted to tell you, the Democratic presidential debates are in town this week. So you can expect a couple things. One, that traffic on Woodward will be a mess the next couple days. And regardless of your personal politics, the eyes of the nation are on the Motor City, so we're going to talk about it on the show. The debate discussion will be clearly labeled in the show title, so you can either listen if you're interested or skip past if you're not. Either way, thanks for subscribing to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Overcast, or wherever you get your favorite shows. For Sven Gustafson, Randy Walker, Cheyenne Noserini, Bob and David Podcast Detroit, I'm Jer Stays. Take care of each other, and we'll see you around Detroit.
You're listening to the Podcast Detroit Network. Visit www.podcastdetroit.com for more information.